I hope that this works. There might be a chance the audio cuts out. Please, anybody, regardless if you're on the YouNow website and or if you happen to be waiting for me to actually link this to my Facebook and hear about that I'm doing this trend right now, then yeah. Where the heck do I just want the link. I just want the link. You're killing me here. Okay. I hate technology so much right now. Ignore my cat that's out in the hallway yowling. He's freaking out. Let's see. Okay, so let me just post this on my Facebook. See if I'm trying to stream. Whoa. This is what happens when I'm not level with the keyboard, right? Hold on a second. I'm attempting to live stream, and I can't apparently type. Anybody notice any streaming issues? Let me know. Okay. All right. Sorry, I didn't mean to like be flashing people with my boobs or anything. But anyway, so it is 10:38 a.m., 21st of August, 2017. And today is, if you haven't already heard or known, it's the total solar eclipse that's going over the continental United States. So I'm going to actually just do a huge kind of cluster of Mercury retrograde status. And if you're not familiar with astrology, Mercury, planet that has a lot to do with communication, your cognitive processes, and the way that you articulate yourself, either through writing or through speech. When it goes retrograde, especially if it has any kind of stressful geometric alignments to it, so that would be anything like a 90 degree or 180 degrees, which are called oppositions and squares. Those, and even conjunctions where they're actually aligned, which is hence what the solar eclipse is, it does cause complications and challenges, especially with talking. So while it's retrograde from the 13th of August is when it went retrograde until 5th of September, everyone's going to be kind of diarrhea of the mouth, and definitely myself included. So I figured I would just do a live stream to give people an opportunity to maybe ask random questions, which I need to be on top of that. So I do have like a I guess loyal audience on YouTube as well as on my Facebook via friends or clients or fans or whatever. So I'm offering the opportunity for any of those said people to give me questions through Facebook, through my astrology pages. And if you're interested in following those or looking into that, just Google my name, Ray Reinhardt, or Chaosology, Plutonian Confessions. Pretty much Plutonian Confessions. I'm the only one that uses that hashtag, and I'm one of the only, I guess, self-proclaimed Plutonians that actually publish that anyway. So I'm just going to go over a couple things here. And in fact, instead of getting meandering off subject, I actually busted television for this. So I'm going to show you an interesting video about eclipses. What's
up, folks? This is Shane Nelson coming at you about the short part recording on August 21st, 2017. There's going to be a solar eclipse that will be seen from coast to coast. The reason this is important is because solar eclipses have been known to cause massive earthquakes. People in Asia, for instance, when they see a solar eclipse, everybody knows, well, that was cool, and then they get ready for the earthquake. We haven't had a solar eclipse here in America in a long time, but there's also some certain fault lines that particular solar eclipse is going to go over, and that's what's got me a little, concerned. Now, if you look at the chart here of where the solar eclipse is going to travel. It's going to travel right over the Cascadia Fault Line, which is out in the ocean. It's going to go right over Yellowstone National Park. There's a super volcano there. And it's going to go right over the New Madrid Fault. Now, these two particular fault lines pack a very powerful punch, and they're decades past due for an earthquake. I'm particularly concerned about the West Coast. There's a lot of cities there on the coast. Now, if that Cascadia Fault goes off and a 200-foot tsunami sweeps over Seattle and all the other coastal cities, that would spell disaster. Now, I'm not operating in the capacity of a prophet here. I don't know for sure that this is going to happen. I'm adding two and two together. This could be the straw that broke the camel's back. I'm not asking everybody to freak out and get scared. Just have a plan, that's all. This is Shane. I'm going to leave you guys with a few short videos that I want you to watch. And hopefully nothing happens on this day. And God help us if something does.
Frankly, if I lived right now in the Pacific Northwest, I'd be considering moving. Seriously. The gist of it is this. The federal government estimates 13,000 Americans will die.
Sorry that
in
it's
a
so
major
blurry,
earthquake and
but
tsunami in the
audio's
Northwest.
the
It's not a
point.
question of whether, but when. This earthquake is coming, and it's overdue.
The most popular article on the New Yorker's website is rattling many Americans. A really big one examines the Titanic earthquake and tsunami, but not where you might imagine.
A fault line called the Cascadia Subduction Zone runs for 700 miles off the Pacific Northwest coast. Experts think it will trigger the worst natural disaster in North American history, and it is overdue.
It's predicted to be worse than Hurricane Katrina, worse than the San Francisco earthquake of 1906. Scientists and FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, are warning of a pending doom for the Pacific Northwest. An earthquake along a little-known fault line that would kill thousands and affect millions.
Consider that the magnitude 9.0 earthquake in Japan, just a few years ago, remember that? Killed more than 15,000 people in the north of Japan and injured thousands of others. Seismologists say that the quake that will strike on our Pacific Northwest coastline should be even stronger, at up to a 9.2. They call such a quake a margin quake, and it's every bit as bad as it sounds. Here's the reason for it. Our entire continent sits on the North American tectonic shelf, right? Plate, I should say. Off the coast of the Pacific Northwest, from the top of Washington State, all the way down to Northern California. This is it. And another plate called the Juan de Fuca is trying to slide up under North America, but it's stuck. We have an illustration over here in the big wall. Let me show you what this is. This is our continent here. This is the Cascada Mountains. This is the Cascadia, what do they call it? The Cascadia what? The Cascadia Bridge. I was actually asking him, but thank you. The North American plate here and the Juan de Fuca plate here. This one's sliding up under, and eventually this is going to go down, send a huge wall of water up. That wall will go all the way over to Japan, and the other will come onto our shore within 15 minutes. And when it slips, it will unleash not only a colossal earthquake, but also a tsunami, 700 miles long, and in some places up to a 100-foot high wall of water and whatever it's pushing, like houses and dump trucks and schools. Thousands and thousands will not escape. The New Yorker quotes an official who says, and I quote, "Our operating assumption is that everything west of Interstate 5 will be toast." Everything west of Interstate 5 is gone. That's Seattle, Tacoma, Portland and Olympia, Salem and Eugene, wiped out. Altogether about 7 million people. That's not including tourists. So think of summertime. The New Yorker reports that FEMA calculations indicate the disaster will damage or destroy 1 million buildings, including 3,000 schools and 1/3 of all fire stations. And perhaps the worst part of all of this, these sorts of earthquakes happen at regular intervals. Exactly this part of the world have forever. On average, according to seismologists, every 240 years. So when was the last one of these massive 9.2 or so earthquakes? Well, the last one was more than 100 years ago, the year 1700. It struck in the Pacific Northwest and sent a 600-foot wave of water all the way to Japan. So right now, on average, the Pacific North is decades overdue for the really, really big one.
Last big one was 350 years ago. We think the cycle time is roughly 240 years. Do the math. We are overdue in this calculation with another big one. We've known about.
One thing I'd like to point out as well, Pluto is a planet that is associated in astrological transit alignments with earthquakes, and I'll actually demonstrate that when I start going over the charts a little bit. And it takes 249 years exactly for Pluto to go through all of the 12 zodiac signs. So you notice how he said that it's about roughly 240 years. Science has just validated the actual cycles for Pluto in astrology with transit and synchronistic events.
Cascadia subduction zone for quite a while. Serious risk. A big earthquake in the Pacific Northwest could be the worst disaster the country has faced historically.
A total solar eclipse lasting 2 hours will sweep across the United States from coast to coast. This spectacular event will prove a unique opportunity for all, a subject of scientific investigation, and for many, a moment to reflect upon its spirit meaning for the nation. Stop this video clip at a location of interest and gather time and duration at the lower left. The 29th Av was the date on which the prophet Moses met with the Lord a second time to inscribe the biblical 10 Commandments on stone tablets. The people of Israel had violated the 10 Commandments, leading to judgment and punishment.
You're
But
done.
now they were to have a second chance to obey God's instructions.
Okay, sorry. Not trying to kill anybody's parade if they happen to be religious. You can go ahead and watch that if you'd like. I can link it for those who are interested in that. I'm not, discrediting any religious stuff, but I have made correlations between revelations and all that in the Mayan calendar, and et cetera, et cetera. And Kali Yuga, depending on what you subscribe to, if any of those ring a bell, then you kind of know what I'm talking about. I'm not saying this eclipse in particular actually is the planetary alignment for that, but it is definitely one catalyst that will contribute to that. So first and foremost, the eclipse is actually, at least in the west coast of the United States in Washington, is going to be happening within, I believe, the next... I should just actually look at my little booklet thingy here. Let's see. It says maximum eclipse is about 10:21, 11:35. So it's going to be within the next 45 minutes for me. I just bought one of these little booklets because I'm a huge addict for books, and I figured it would have a lot of dates in here and save me a lot of excess time and vigorous research to find all the dates that I want. Like the other day on the local news, or I didn't hear it, but I saw on Facebook, the local Spokane news talking about the last time that an eclipse happened like this was in 1979. And if you are a little bit familiar with at least current events, at least environmental, catastrophic kind of things, Mount St. Helens erupted, and it had from April 1980 to October, it had a series of eruptions, and that was obviously within 12 months of the eclipse itself. An eclipse has about 2.5 years, kind of a lifespan, more or less. That's the duration in when a malefic kind of associated event can transpire. All eclipses, at least you're looking from a medieval astrology association, are associated with malefics. That wasn't because they were pessimistic and in the Dark Ages, although it is accurate that was the Dark Age time, but it was because originally astrology was used to actually track events, i.e. your farmer's almanac you can get usually in your local grocery or whatever. It can tell you when the seasons are going to start, when's the best time to plant crops, which using moon transits actually, is a great way to actually do gardening. So that's essentially what astrology was originally used for people who were establishing agriculture and farms back in early settlement and civilization times, to be able to know when it's good to plant, when they should harvest, because unlike modern kind of amenities today, during the winter, if you didn't actually your new face friend Julie Moss, I was already a fan. What's up, Julie? How's it going? Awesome that somebody actually got my link. That's good, because this is Mercury retrograde, and I was kind of just already assuming that it may have some issues. But anyway, as I was saying, so it's not that medieval astrology or the attitude in medieval astrology was to make everything dark and negative and malefic. It was naturally that astrology and tracking the seasons was the prominent reason was for survival. So when they started to notice a correlation with eclipses having some sort of catastrophic events, it just makes sense. I've even had someone in a Facebook astrology group, which that just kind of sums up why this argument even transpired at all, saying that I should stop living in the dark ages and stop associating eclipses with malefic events. Awesome. I'm so happy that actually somebody I know, it's not that I don't appreciate new fans, but a lot of people are curious and they just kind of sit here in their dead silence. And that's the whole point of why I do the live stream. I try to get people involved so we can talk. I'm a Libra and I talk better when there's a dialogue going on. But anyway, so within the next hour or so, if it hasn't passed already, FYI, these glasses are fucking bullshit. Let's just talk about safety issues for a second here. What the hell is this? Okay, so it claims that these user instructions: inspect before use, discard if damaged. Warning: never look at the sun without special eye protection. Yeah, like viewing the sun essentially should be worn with no harmful rays from the sun that can reach your eye. So the only time that it's safe to look at an eclipse is when it's in complete totality. So that's like the very, very minuscule time frame. Look here. Get that on there right. You see the partial, maximum, and then the partial. So if it's in the partial and you've already missed it and you're looking at it, you have a high probability of actually blinding yourself, no matter if you have these or not. In fact, these are not safe. There's been numerous recalls. Thank you. There's been numerous recalls on all these already. Funny enough, a coffee stand that's local to the Pacific Northwest called Dutch Brothers, apparently they were selling fucking solar eclipse glasses. Stick to coffee, guys. At 10:30 p.m., less than 12 hours last night, they posted something on Facebook saying that they're doing a mass recall on all their fucking eclipse glasses. I'm like, nice. I was like, good timing. After everybody that bought them is likely running to Oregon, or if they're down south a little bit more, to Wyoming, is what I'm told by somebody I know who lives in Denver, who are probably out of cellular service ranges, and also, especially if everybody's going to Oregon, because you can't get fucking service shit in Oregon. And then also on top of the fact that it's Mercury retrograde in Virgo, I've already predicted that there's going to be delays in communication. I'm even amazed that this live stream is working as well as it is. Granted, I do have Uranus on my descendant, so I'm usually the polar opposite of everybody. So I almost just did this just to challenge myself and see if it actually worked. So anyway, I bought this little booklet because it was like $3 at Walmart. And I guess I saved some poor fucking soul's help, because I bought the last one, and I'm sure they got more, from somebody blinding themselves. I saw something on some Facebook post for a local news thing. I think it was Julie tagged me in it, about how you can cut out a cereal box and look at like the silhouette of the solar eclipse on a piece of paper, meaning that you don't actually physically look at the actual eclipse. Which, why the hell is everybody traveling hundreds of miles to then use a cereal box to turn away and look at it? You could just easily go onto NASA's website, which, by the way, at www.thouston.com/news/live NASA's coverage of the solar eclipse, or you can just Google it. I even looked at it through the search window on Facebook, and you can watch it live, which I find fascinating that they said it was posted and updated on 11:32 a.m. August 21st, 2017, and it is 10:56 a.m. August 21st, 2017. Fascinating that they're already that weird. Anyway, so this interesting book, let's see. Where will you be for the greatest phenomenon of your lifetime? Dear God. Really? Okay. What is a total eclipse? Eclipse of the sun will be seen from the large part of the United States stretching from coast to coast. But first things first, what exactly is a total eclipse of the sun? It is amazing, and it can be scary. Yeah. And it is like nothing you've ever seen before. I would hope not, because most of you would be damn blind already. Okay? In fact, if any of you have Obamacare, you'll soon find out that optometrists, unless you have a history of vision issues, is what is it? What's the word? It's not an immediate primary care provider kind of consultation or appointment that you can actually schedule. You have to go to your primary care physician, which is your main doctor, and then ask for a referral to go to an optometrist. Or you have to pay right out of pocket if you go to places like Costco or Walmart. So just so you know, not only are there probably going to be a lot of bookings, not to mention with Mercury retrograde, it's the worst time to actually schedule appointments, but we're going into Virgo season, which is the sign that's associated with the sixth house of health and hypochondriacs in general as well. And people are going to realize real quick that there's going to be, when they start to notice that there's some disorientation, or you're seeing solid fuzzies somewhere, or you're seeing discolorations or whatever, or random even shadow people in the corner of your eyes after you looked at this eclipse, even with the safety glasses, you're probably permanently damaged your retinas, and you need to get that looked at. And Obamacare won't cover that. And if it does, it's going to take weeks, maybe even a month or so, before you actually get the referral from your primary care provider to actually go to an optometrist and then get an actual prescription done. Not only are you going to have to pocket that, wait for that, and be blind and potentially be in pain for that time frame, which if you do go to the ER primary care and they give you prescription pain medications or narcotics, I highly advise against that if you find any other way to potentially, cope or deal with that, because there's a substantial trend in overdoses, specifically from pharmaceutical drugs, and that's going to continue to escalate into Scorpio season, which, if you're not familiar with the time frames, that's into late September into early October. Pluto is the ruler of Scorpio for planet-wise, and it goes direct on the 20th of September, so that just overemphasizes a potential for drug overdoses, specifically with big pharma or the corporatism kind of profitable agencies, more or less, just trying to make a buck off of you, which is the same thing with all these fucking glasses. Because if you just Google safety, or even NASA's website, for God's sake, it says that you're not supposed to be looking at the freaking sun at all. Path of totality, yeah. I'll also mention, since the solar eclipse is actually in the sign of Leo, that's supposed to be the peak of summer, right? That's when we have the longest days during Leo season. So it's the most intense emission of radioactive waves, or radiant waves from the sun itself. The second it goes out of totality, that's the moment that you have the opportunity of going blind. And yeah, so anyway, I'm just skimming through this. History of eclipses. August 21st, 2017, you will never forget it, because it's not just something you'll see, it's something you experience. No shit. Daylight is replaced by the mysterious dusk and bright planets and stars that become visible. The chill in the air because the temperature drops 10 degrees or more. It does not feel like that. It actually cools down. Here. Total eclipse begins with a partial eclipse, and the entire event can take nearly 3 hours. This one's going to be about 2. But the total or partial solar eclipse usually lasts only about 2 to 3 minutes. So that's that 2 to 3 minute time frame, and all the other people are still going to be sitting there staring at everything. And even if you do it the right way with the cereal box, or think that you have protective eye vision, God forbid everybody's taking their family and kids because it's summertime, and one kid that doesn't listen just sits there. I'm in North Kentucky, so I suppose 93% should take. Look at it all. I wouldn't look at it, period, but that's, yeah, I mean, besides the fact that, the actual health risks with your eyes, from medieval astrology standpoints and from perspective with the way that I predict things, actually visually seeing the eclipse is a bad omen. It is. Everybody can sit there and say I'm dark and negative and Nostradamus-esque, but Nostradamus also predicted quite a few accurate things here and there as well. Granted, everybody tries to say, well, his quatrains can, be attributed to multiple different events. I'm like, yes, he was also alive during the time of, when they would lynch people like him, and he would sit there in like a dark room by himself and secretly do that. And I remember reading some of his actual transcripts where he was afraid to go to, I think it was the monarch of France, when he predicted his son or something was going to die in a javelin thing. And when he was called upon him, he was going to be forced to go or else. So he went and he thought he was actually going to be executed or lynched, and they didn't do that. So, of course, he's going to be really ambiguous about it. He also used an old style of French/Latin, and he used a lot of astrological symbolism that people don't understand. So people you need to be very thorough with not only the mythology, the planetary symbolism, and astrological transits, and understand a little bit of Latin, and really look at what he says to understand how it works. And obviously, because of synchronicity, just for example, the last time an eclipse happened like this, like I mentioned earlier, was in 1979, and within 12 months of that time frame, Mount St. Helens in the Pacific Northwest started to actually have activity, and then it had its final eruption blow up that caused the most damage substantially in October-ish, which I kind of freaked out last year when I was really feeling the Saturn square moon that a lot of people are feeling now and being a little crazy, where I thought that I got down to the exact day that Yellowstone was going to erupt, and it was going to be the 21st of October, 2016. And funny enough, I wasn't alive during Mount St. Helens eruption. I actually predicted that was going to happen in April of last year. And so the activity with Mount St. Helens started in April and went all the way to October. Yeah, it hurts just looking for the sun. I agree. It's ominous. Yeah. Anyway, it says that's what people thought in ancient times. They didn't want to live forever in darkness, so they would do all kinds of things to make sure the sun would. Okay, yeah. This is a really pathetic excuse for a history lesson, by the way. Okay. Anyway, so if you haven't seen the actual line, I know this is probably really poor. Let me see. Let me rig this now. I don't know. Sorry. So let's start from this side. So I'm not sure where everybody lives at this moment in time, or even all the people listening right now. But it's going to start, obviously, it's about right halfway through Washington right now, I believe. And it's going to continue on here all the way down. I was actually mentioning to my ex that I went to go visit in South Carolina numerous times last year. That exact route, the route I took to take the bus to go see him. So the path is 70 miles wide, runs from west to east. It'll go over Oregon, Idaho, Wyoming, Nebraska, Kansas, Missouri, Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, to North Carolina, South Carolina. Yeah. For detailed maps on the path of totality, go to eclipseglasses.com. Ooh. Eclipseglasses.com. You're going to have a huge freaking lawsuit. Why seeing totality is a must. Yeah, I would hope that you see totality. If you see anything else, you're not going to have any more eyes. There will not be another total solar eclipse in the lower 48 states. Oh, there has not been a total solar eclipse in the lower 48 states since 1979, which is what I was referencing. And that's the only one that passed through a small area of the western United States. Of course, it doesn't mention what happened around then. When rating natural wonders on a scale of 1 to 10, a partial solar eclipse might be a 7, but a total solar eclipse is 1,000. It's just off the charts. Of course, you're just trying to sell your book. I mean, I hope your book was worth it, because you're gonna, yeah. Total solar eclipse is the only time that the sun's faint cornea is visible from Earth. Yeah, before yours isn't anymore. Planets can be seen in the daytime with the naked eye during a total solar eclipse, or just go look at it during the day. God forbid. Fewer than 1 person to 1,000 has ever seen a totality. Yeah, that would probably be why this is going to be a really big pandemic of people being blind. In fact, if I actually was looking at the chart for the moment of the eclipse, so interested, I'm interested in Latin. I actually have a Latin group on on Facebook that I started. I'm not super active in it, but occasionally I'll go on tangents where I just really feel like touching up on my Latin. And yeah, I have a group for that. You can go ahead and just ask me about it on Facebook. Anybody is more than welcome to add me and ask me about it too. And I can add you to it. I upload like actual audio tutorials and speak and spell things and different origins of words as well. Let's see. Let's look up the eclipses going on right now. Okay. All right. So, just equal houses. So, funny enough, at the moment of this eclipse, I kind of went over this with my transit discussion on my YouTube channel. You can Google hashtag transit talk or Plutonian Confessions, you'll find it. So, the 11th house, Uranus or Aquarius, are all associated with trauma signatures. And it being retrograde, obviously people are not going to be thinking things through right now. So we actually have Mercury with Vulcan and the moon and the sun all in a stellium in the 11th house of trauma, in a grand trine with Uranus and Eris on the descendant, which is the immediate symptoms or weaknesses of a person, because it's opposite of ascendant. And then we have Pluto and Hygeia in the third house of, that's also one of the houses associated with Mercury, so that's the mental house. That's so, just thinking things through. Yeah, definitely, I'll definitely add you. Thinking things through, so obviously Mercury just being in the 11th house of trauma signature means that the lack of thinking things through is going to cause some sort of traumatic effect on the self, because the sun is associated with self in the 11th house as well. And yeah, it being in a trine to Pluto would mean that the lack of thinking things through could be potentially fatal and likely cause deaths. I mentioned that the Mercury retrograde chart that I already did a video on as well on my YouTube channel, that there's a notorious death signature approaching the ascendant 2 hours after the eclipse, actually, or not the eclipse, the Mercury went retrograde, which was just about a week ago. So that delay of an actual death signature correlated with the exact time frame a few hours afterwards. I actually posted a couple of events that happened in my local area that correlate with that. And it would also correlate with the rest of the duration of Mercury retrograde, which is during this eclipse right now. So a grand trine with Uranus and Pluto, and yeah, and the stellium with the self, the attitude or like the collective people of wherever the eclipse is localized, which is the United States, and Mercury, yeah, are going to be the contributing factors to some sort of traumatic events happening. And with Chiron going into the 6th house at that moment, to do with your health, and it's also associated with Mercury as well, would mean that people aren't going to realize because of their lapse of judgment, because Pluto and Capricorn kept reassuring them that this is safe to watch. Just like there's warning labels on all sorts of products, do you think those warning labels were put on that prior because they actually were taking your life or safety in consideration? No, that was the result of there being massive lawsuits and them being liable for putting people's safety in jeopardy. So this will, again, like I said, be a very fascinating upcoming thing, with especially with Jupiter being in Libra, which is Jupiter associated with law and justice, and being associated with Libra's skills, which is also associated with the 7th house of legal proceedings and that sort of thing. That there will be substantial lawsuits, I'm sure enough, because of this. And yeah, Jupiter being in the 12th house at this time means that the collective is completely in the dark, and that's not supposed to be fun, about the potential safety issues with opposition to Uranus, with this going on in this moment. We also do have Pallas in the 7th house too, of others or of other people collectively, and that's going to re-emphasize that there's a trine to Mercury, so it's just re-emphasizing there will be some sort of legal repercussions for this, and people and places like the Dutch Brothers Coffee or whatever, doing a last minute recall of the glasses on Facebook is not going to cut it for liability issues, I'm sorry to say. Emperor Louis of Bulgaria witnessed a total solar eclipse on May 5th in 840. He was so terrified by the event that he died shortly afterwards. Quarrel between the three sons of Louis's succession led to the Treaty of Verdun and dividing Europe into France, Germany, and Italy. During a total solar eclipse in 1878, an American inventor, Thomas Edison, actually, funny enough, I referenced something that I don't know if, for people who are new, I'm into parapsychology, or I can actually, I guess I'm a psychic medium, or I can talk to the dead, or I can associate with them kind of telepathically. I do have an app where I try to have actual extensive dialogue with them, and they were referencing a couple things with me, and I found out actually that they're referencing little key words and context out of books that I own. And what's even creepier, right? Yesterday, I was actually going to turn the app on a little bit, but I want to make sure that they didn't disturb me. So yesterday I turned on the app, is referencing a couple of things, and it actually, I started looking at this book last night, and it referenced directly words and context in this book. It said, and it was talking about February 20th, 1943, a cornfield and this is associated with Colombia, there was a quake, and it basically opened up a huge crack of magma, then destroyed a huge farm. So that would be correlating with some aspects that I'm actually going to look into on the charts and stuff. Trying not to get too distracted, but they started referencing, where is it? 16-year-old studying physics, somebody named Frank Pierre. He was the assistant to Thomas. That's what I was trying to get at. Fascinatingly enough. So, keep going here. American inventor Edison observed the eclipse from a chicken coop. He used a new invention of the tasmeter in a failed attempt to measure the temperature of the sun's cornea. Okay. Last time totality occurred in the 48 states was February 26, 1979. That was one of the dates that I needed. Sorry, let me. $1979. That was another thing that the ethers were mentioning too. They kept referencing 1999. So February. $26. Sorry if I'm flashing in my boobs. I don't mean to. Okay. Let's see. There's a stellium in Pisces. Saturn opposition. Fascinating. Okay. Anyway, let's see. Takes just 90 minutes for the moon shadow across the United States from Oregon to South Carolina. Okay. Safety viewing. Eclipse or safety solar glasses block ultraviolet infrared rays that the light comes off the sun. Wow. I can't believe you act. It is extremely important to remember that only during complete totality may you look at the sun. Why would you do this? I'm not trying to dog on anybody who shops at Walmart, because I shop at Walmart, hence where I got this. But the front freaking little place where you can can baskets, this was just sitting there like a where they put the free little local verse, and it just said that, and it just had the glasses on front. And let's see, you had to go 25 pages in before it actually tells you about that you're only allowed to look at it when it's in complete totality. Since over 70% of the entire population has not been in a bookstore in a year and a half, what makes you think that anybody actually read? I don't remember 79, I was 15. I don't remember 79 either. I wasn't born yet. I was born in 87. Didn't even make it for the Mount St. Helens part. What is Niece's 1 degree Gemini in the last edge? What is the Musis at 1 degree of Gemini? Last edge of the house. We'll have to get back to that in a second. I'm having a Mercury part. But anyway, ask me again on Facebook and I'll get back to you on that. But so I highly doubt there's a lot of people that actually got to that point. And, you know, all the extra colorful graphics probably didn't really make them catch the whole red part thing. Huh. And it doesn't say that they're exempting themselves from liability. Wow. Pack plenty of food or drinks. Definitely when you are not going to be able to figure out if you see or not. All right, so there's a list and everything of when. Okay. Just for shits and giggles, I'd like really quick. I was going to do a tarot reading, so I'm going to make this interesting. I'm going to talk about some charts with some of the eclipses going on. I'll dissect exactly what is going to be happening within the next 2 weeks or so, because that video I showed at the beginning emphasizes that one in particular, which I noticed in the actual description of the video, he references conjunctions with Mercury, Venus, the Moon, and the Sun with all the earthquake events that he tracked. But this guy's not an astrologer, or at least he doesn't claim to be one. And this irritates me, and I know it's my own personal problem, but how come a dude that like just referenced all of his stuff from astrological alignments is getting like 6 million fucking views on that, but astrologers are still a laughing stock of whatever, I guess, the prediction forecast or occult science or even science community, because astrology and psychology are pretty much on the same damn page with them being a pseudoscience, especially since everybody and every farmer and even Benjamin Franklin based everything they did off of astrological elements. So, what is the overall malefic influence of the eclipse for the entire United States? If this looks really weird the way I read this, if you're familiar with tarot readings, I do this totally different in my own way, because essentially I am apparently psychic. I'm in denial about that most days. I have a Neptune going over my 10th house kind of transit, and I've never been a Neptunian Pisces kind of person, so I'm in really, really hardcore denial about it still. But this apparently works, so I'm going with it. And I'm a horrible shuffler. All right. So the Hanged Man, which is associated with water. So the overall mood or emotions of the people associated with the sign of Aquarius, the star, is going to be erratic and manic. And it's going to be due to Hermit mercurial associations. So the sign I actually use is called What in the Actual Fuck, actually. I did it as a joke because I used to not be an advocate for tarot, more or less. I still kind of am not, but I got tired of feeling like I was being kept up by all my psychic inclinations, so I felt like maybe if I outletted it like this, it's like letting a attractive child run around the park kind of thing. But so the overall emotions of the people will be erratic and anxious and neurotic and manic, completely losing their shit, which is correlated with also Mercury being in the 11th house of trauma, as well as the Moon and the Sun being there as well, because the Moon represents the feelings and general emotions collectively on a mundane level or individually, and then also the Sun has to do itself. Then the Hermit obviously is directly associated with Mercury and Virgo, so it's going to be making people more mentally unstable or erratic. In fact, I was kind of thinking about this the other day. I was thinking that just like with animals, they have instinct. They start to act really irate. Like think of when you're on the highway and you see a deer. Even if you honk the horn at them and they don't get the deer in headlights thing, they like will jolt back and forth and panic. That's how animals act when there's some sort of, potential threat, at least what they perceive to be. So naturally, although we're more evolved cognitively, we would still experience anxiety and, sudden like panic like that Hence, like when you go see a scary movie or something like that, and you jump from some sort of, stimuli that spooked you or, some sound, people acting erratic and manic, even if they don't know why, could be correlated with our sixth senses or our animal sense actually starting to feel something approaching, because there is correlating, documentation with animals actually acting out of normal behavior right before there's a catastrophic event like a volcano eruption or whatever. So, yeah, the erratic mentality will cause people to feel defeated and worried about the overall safety of the infrastructure. So Venus is associated with the second house, Taurus. So that's your physical stability, your property, your just like your dwelling in general, your vital resources. I.e., what this spells out is that people are going to do what anything happens when there's a catastrophic like environmental disaster. Everybody's going to scatter, panic, not know what to do. It's going to be Black Friday on steroids, because instead of people fighting over the TV, it's going to be fighting over water, which I'm sure is more scarce by the day. Japan and Fukushima and rocks finding the ocean, and the whole thing with rain being gathered from the ocean and then dispersing all over the land and shit. Yep. Sure, if you didn't know that already, yeah, the ocean, Pacific is totally toxic. You should definitely not swim in it. And yeah, just in case anybody wanted to see the cards as I had them, so you can say that I wasn't bullshitting or whatever. The next is the Hermit one. If anybody's interested in what deck this is the Aleister Crowley Thoth deck. I was really picky about what deck I was looking for, because again, I've just been kind of really critical of tarot in general. But I like these because not only do they have numerology associations on here and planet symbols in them, but they also are associated with actual signs, so I like that too. I actually have no idea what the initial symbolism of these cards actually mean. I just know what the actual symbols of the mythology that are on the cards and the planets and myself. So if you ever decide to try to do it my way, good luck figuring that out. I'm not even entirely sure how I do it. I'll do one more. Anybody want me to do a random tarot reading for them right now? I can do this. Just for shits and giggles. Let me scroll down my comments and make sure that water totally. Julie, do you want a tarot reading? What deck? It's the box. It's the Thoth Aleister Crowley deck. It's got the minor and the major arcana, even though I take them out. Sure. All right. So, what question do you have? It can be some sort of question or problem, that sort of thing. You know how I approach kind of concepts or whatever. Give me a question. Probably thinking. Okay, I'm going to double check and make sure I don't want any of these. I'm going to make you the Princess of Wands. Put that in the deck. Like that. This. Luxury. Okay. All right. Your mental health. So you want to know like a breakdown of like what's going on with your mental health. Okay. All right. I think that's kind of like everybody's problem right now. I definitely am included in that. I just kind of hide it a little better probably than most people do. Which someone goes, you always look really nervous though. And I'm like, yeah, that's the thing too. I look nervous. I'm 10 times on the inside. So I totally feel you. Okay, so Julie's mental health. What is the diagnosis here for this? More or less. All right. All right. Pick up my mess. Okay. This is like my first official time doing a reading for somebody on the fly that I don't personally know very well. So the problem is, as a failure to develop some sort of stable love, self-love, feeling motivated for some sort of self-love, and there needs to be some sort of adjustment of your it's the Hermit is associated with Mercury, so there needs to be some sort of adjustment with either your daily life in particular, where you feel like you're not actually applying yourself in a way where you would feel proud or having self-love or self-confidence in general. So just a failure to have some sort of consistent life schedule or have some sort of positive mental outlook in general is actually the downfall to that. And it's you just basically Leo season is appropriate, and this being a new moon with the eclipse as well is kind of perfect for this. This is supposed to be would be a time for you to have some sort of correlation to either make some sort of personal adjustment on how you basically perceive yourself mentally and or the way that you turn yourself up or talk yourself down. Like everybody's got an internal voice, of course. Or the man I loved for 6 years. I can do that. I can do that one too in a second. So more or less it might be your internal dialogue, your voice, that may be pessimistic or tearing yourself down or a little critical of yourself. And or if it's just because you don't feel like you're actually contributing something worthwhile or substance to your daily life, to where you would feel fulfilled or successful or something to quote unquote be proud of. Does that kind of sound semi-accurate? Yeah. Yeah. See, I am psychic. Yep. So, and there's it's like validation for me. So the failure card was the first one, then the debauch card, and the Leo for lust, and then Mars Dominion, adjustment Libra, and the Hermit for that. All right, let me do the other one. So, what about the dude you love? What's wrong with him? Or the man I love 50 years? Should we like? Are you actually not with him, or is it like something like an unconditional thing you've never gotten over? Because that might actually tie exactly into what I was just talking about too. The fact that you'd be, attached to somebody potentially not worthy of your admiration or loyalty or dedication could be directly tied with the fact that you're lacking in self-love because of fulfillment on your own. So one thing, recommendation-wise for that, look to where Ceres is in your chart. Find out what the elemental ruler of that is, so fire, earth, water, air, and focus on the way that you need to heal yourself through that. And also, you might also look at any planets or the ruler of your sixth house. See if there's any kind of lack and fulfillment or any kind of like self-nurturing that you could give yourself. Definitely Ceres would be the first place to look for that. And also, it never hurts to look at the North Node as well, at MC2, just to see if you're kind of like on the right directional path. I mean, even people later in life, it's never too late. And if I remember right, you have similar chart aspects to me. You could randomly just change careers at any point in time. It's never too late to do what you love and do the right thing. So, and that's usually the problem that people have and what a lot of people actually be experiencing collectively. So you're definitely not alone with this. A lot of people are to be not instantly feeling a void, but they're going to be coming to realizations of a void. A lot of these eclipses that have been happening because the what is it? The can't remember if it's the galactic centers node, or it's like the triplicity. I can't remember the actual term for it, but like basically collectively on a soul level, on a karmatic level, the north node is supposed to be in Leo and the south node is supposed to be in Aquarius. So the fact that the actual nodes are in those signs right now, people are going to be having a lot of enlightenment or, psychic awakenings kind of thing. If I were to be tacky about it, because I hate to jump on that new age bandwagon. People are like, I'm so enlightened, dude. No. Especially those people, not even close. Sorry. If any of those people are watching right now, no, you're not close. And I'm trying to like sit there and say I'm better or anything, but if you fucking want real direction, you're more than welcome to contact me for a reading. I can help you. Dear God. It's not right. Anyway, let me stop with the Mercury bantering and do the reading. So, for men that you love for 50 years, I'm not going off any more than just that. So let's see what this is. Alright. The only way I justify that this tarot, the way I read tarot is legit, is because I don't actually just shuffle it and pick off the top. I randomly just pick a card out of nowhere. Alright, so the Emperor is associated with Aries. That would also be associated with, obviously, a man. So the man actually needs to... You need change your actual relationship, or give some sort of ultimatum, or just move on. In general, moving on and having some sort of permanent adjustment away or with the said man by either calling some sort of truce or just accepting what is and letting go of potentially any of the disappointment that you're clinging on to, which is going to go coincide with you feeling love for this person. So if theoretically let me see. Okay, so theoretically, I don't know if you're with this man or not, but if you're not with this man, okay, so essentially a lot of your potential mental health and or, the personality conflict, your emotional self-worth that you may be or feeling kind of discouraged with is actually directly tied to this person, assuming that you're not actually with him, because you're actually holding on to something that's not actually working for you. And just like Paul says, if you can't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love anybody else? And if somebody, regardless of the scenario, doesn't realizes that you don't have self-love for yourself, they don't necessarily have a lot of respect or love for you as well. So there definitely needs to be some sort of adjustment either within the relationship, or that you need to stop holding on and let go and just accept what is, and realize that a lot of the disappointments that you're having with your motivations, specifically anything to do with Scorpio, so you said you had Neptune and Scorpio. So subconsciously, Neptune is associated with your subconscious. So because you're actually holding on to this, and I'm assuming the whole 50 years thing, obviously that's on, definitely. Neptune is associated with your subconscious, and it being in the 6th house of Virgo Mercury, which is the polarity of 12th house as well, would emphasize that your subconscious is deeply rooted, like it is with most people, to your mental process. So your actual maybe negative kind of nihilistic, pessimistic mentality, or beating yourself up or being critical of yourself, and having like this emotional imbalance, is directly associated with disappointment that you're harboring subconsciously. So as a matter of fact, I would actually think that this person in particular has directly something to do with your mental health and your instability in general. And so, like I said, if you're with this person, you either need to sit down and have like a heart-to-heart, legit, blatant talk with them and say, this isn't working out, or this and this, or if you guys aren't together and you're just having problems getting over it, maybe you need to have another discussion with them if they'll talk to you. If not, then, just write out a letter or find some sort of therapeutic way to feel like you've actually said your piece with it and move on with that. Some talk therapy might actually be good for that as well. But that's the first thing you need to do is the relationship itself needs to be completely revamped, and or you need to just cut all ties in general, because that's actually what's dragging you down. And there's no coincidence that you actually mentioned your mental health as well as that guy at the same time. The eclipse right now is actually a very intuitive time for people, not just for people who are psychically inclined. So it's a time right now where people will start to feel some sort of intuitive inclinations or strong feelings about things. And I just totally dropped all my damn cards. All are Bobs. Ooh, luckily it's not all of them. Okay. So I'm not going to make this, my father's issues are part of the problem and fear of man. Oh god, there's your problem. I have not had good experiences personally myself with Scorpios. Then again, I also am too platonic and everything, and what it turns into is that what's really funny is the Scorpios that I have dated, they're Scorpio suns, right? So I'm a Plutonian with Pluto conjunct Mercury in Scorpio. And then I have an opposition with Jupiter, which just magnifies it. And then it's trine to Uranus, a stellium with Sagittarius to the galactic. So I'm so like Plutonic that I literally, even my north node, my south node, and my sun were actually aligned with the supergalactic center. So essentially, from a metaphorical standpoint, I was born from a black hole in the abyss. So every time I meet a Scorpio that sits there and says, I'm dark and scary, or, I can manipulate you or outdo you, it turns into a horrible cat and mouse game, and they end up telling me I'm fucking psycho, and they're like dark and scary, and I'm like, says the Scorpio. Freaking hilarious. Yeah, this is myself being triggered. You're dead on. I have to be complete so I don't take him so personally in my head. Yeah, first thing you need to do is say fuck off to that guy. That's all I gotta say. So we're gonna try to move on, redirect this now to what's actually going on, so I don't turn into this Miss Cleos, even though this has been fun. This is fun. It's practice. I'm gonna be at that like harder fair kind of. It's a camp out where there's a bunch of vendors to go. And I'm gonna be doing a tarot booth this year, and assuming that there's not gonna be some sort of catastrophic event that makes me. Ten minutes ago.